welcome back to the Fabric Boutique. I'm Natita, the owner of the Fabric Boutique. I want to thank you and welcome all those who are new to the channel, and welcome back for those who continue to tune in from week to week. The day you are seeing this is Christmas Day, so, or it might be after, depending on what you had going for the day that the video came out. So I want to thank you for those who have watched the video or come back to watch the video whenever you catch it. I just want to thank you again for tuning in on this day. Today, as I had promised in the previous video, if you missed it, I finished the design for the magnetic bookmark and did a trial cut and all of that on my brother Scan and Cut. So make sure you go check out that video if you have missed it. As promised in that video, I am coming in today, and obviously this is a few days before, so I first want to say, for those who celebrate, I pray that you had a beautiful, wonderful, blessed Christmas. And yeah, I'll see you in the new year. But yeah, I pray that your time for the week with family, with friends, or if you just relaxed, maybe you did some creating yourself, did some DIY crafts or whatever yourself during this time. So whatever you did, I pray that you had a blessed and wonderful Christmas. But today I want to jump in and share with you a couple things. I'm going to share a couple different ideas. Well, maybe not really ideas. What I'm doing is I am switching up my book sleeve, my book sleeve design. And so I just did a regular book sleeve, plain book sleeve that you just put the book in. I shared that in a previous video. But when I took it to market, my friend had a wonderful suggestion. Her suggestion was, because I just made mine where you just slide it in. She said at my event that she helped me, she was there for me to help at my previous market that I just did in October, which you can go check that out. That was the launch weekend of the book, Wives Still Pray, all of that. But she had actually said, well, can you make one? She said she liked it, the book sleeve, but can you make it where it closes at the top? And the thing was, when I was making it, I was like, you know what? I think I personally would like mine to close. Not a zipper closure. That's not what I was looking for. I wanted something more simple. And I was thinking an elastic closure with the button, or I was thinking of a snap. And I was in there, having thought about it after she mentioned it, I was like, no, I think I would just like the elastic closure with a button for a couple reasons. One, I actually have, I think this is a good way to be sustainable, bring more sustainability to the Fabric Boutique. For those who do not know, I make my own clothes. I make everything that I wear. I don't talk about any of that on this channel. I have a whole separate channel for that. But I make everything I wear, like this top, the pants I have on, everything. I make everything I wear, my handbags, my wallets, all of that. So I'm a sewist. I make everything I wear, and I make my husband items, some of his clothes as well, jeans, all of that. But when she mentioned it, you know, it brought me back to what I was thinking at the time when I made the book sleeve, that it would be nice if this had clothes. And so to bring more sustainability to the Fabric Boutique, one thing is I am definitely breaking back out my designs I've shared before. I have all of these designs. I actually ordered the fabric from Spoonflower, which I will share that with you here in just a moment. And I'll share it again as the items are created. But I have a lot of fabric. This is my fabric shelf for clothing, things I make for clothes. It goes all the way down to the floor. But sometimes I will have large scraps left over. For example, because I'll be using this today. This is denim. This is the wrong side of the denim, but this is denim. This is denim. And one of the things that I want to do is use like scraps of fabric like this to product test. And so I like to try to, as much as I can, to work through any kinks, any ideas that I have, new things I want to try, and just use my fabric scraps. And what I would tend to do with these, and what I'm doing with this, what I'll be making today, I'm actually giving them as gifts to friends. I'm making 2 different book sleeves, well, out of 2 different fabrics. So one will be denim, and the other will be this Ankara fabric that I have left over from a skirt that was made. And actually, the friends that I'm meeting up with, I made one of them a denim skirt and another one an Ankara skirt, actually out of this Ankara fabric. So I was like, oh, I have scraps left from that. She liked this fabric, and so I'm just gonna sample my book sleeve that I want to do in this here, and give one to her that I gave the Ankara skirt to, and the other one will get the denim. And so that's what I'm going to make sure that I do. And as long as the sample, so yes, I can make, if I'm sampling quite a bit of different things, I will probably have a sample bin that I will have at markets. And I may or may not offer, you know, sample sale items online. If you think that's a great idea, let me know in the comments. I can most certainly do that. But again, the samples might have some imperfections, might have some things that I want to, you know, work out before I turn it into the actual final product. And yes, it will be priced as such. But because things like denim, that's not my brand. That doesn't represent the brand aesthetic for the Fabric Beautique. Ankara does not represent my brand aesthetic. If you see my brand aesthetic, go visit my website. You'll see my color scheme and kind of the feel of the Fabric Beautique. It's a very specific design and color element, and I'm, for the Fabric Beautique, all about using scripture and fabrics and different things of that nature, where fabric and scripture come together, faith and fabric come together. And that's what I like to do for the Fabric Beautique. So these things that may be scrap fabrics that I have from other things that I've worked on, I can use as just to work out some kinks for some products. So pro tip, if you are a sewist, maybe you're not, you don't make clothes like me, but because I also do quilts, very minimal, but doing quilts and stuff like that. But if you have those type of fabrics or other types of things that you're working on, use any scraps you have left over to create a product, or work out kinks for a design for something, and then maybe sell it as sample products or give it away. Like I'm saying, it can be given away. So one of the things that I am doing, again, because I sew, I also have these buttons. So this is a Bernina case. You wouldn't know this because I talk about this on my other channel, but I acquired this time last year another sewing machine. I have several. I'll leave the link. I'll let it pop up at the end of this video. My studio tour, where you see all the different machines. I have several sewing machines, serger, all of the things, right? And so anyway, I acquired, when I got that machine from the friend, purchased that from her, it came with, because it was her husband's mother machine and all of her stuff, and she had passed away, and so she thought of me. She was like, would you could you use any of this, or do you want this? And so yeah, I purchased from her these items, but it came with this big container. And actually, let me see if I can figure out the best way to show this to you. This box has a ton of buttons. It has so many buttons. So here's the buttons, and this thing is deep. And then it has a drawer that has a ton. I mean, this drawer is deep. It is really, really deep. So and I'm just going to pick up a random button. So like this, if I find buttons this size, say for example, that I don't think I'm going to use, like this one, I'll probably keep for myself for my clothes, because I think this is one that I will use. But maybe there's a certain button in here, and when I tell you, there's bags, different colors, different sizes, some really unique designs. I am going to put the elastic within the book sleeve, and you'll see it at the end, but then I'll add a button on the outside, and I'll just start working through these buttons because it's so many buttons in here. I don't know if I'll ever get through these, and it'll be nice to be able to utilize these for something like this, for book sleeves, repurposing them. And then the little bitty buttons, now that's where you can get creative, because you can have a blank, like a, say like a ceramic, maybe this is the best way I can describe it. Maybe it's a ceramic just flat piece that has holes in it, or you can buy round wooden ones that has little holes there. And these little bitty buttons that maybe I don't think I would use, I would just glue a bunch of them on the backing for it, or the button, maybe it's, like I said, wooden, and glue different buttons on there, seal them in place, and then that becomes a whole button. Because there's a lot of little bitty buttons in here, I don't think I would necessarily use a ton of little bitty buttons that I don't think I would use. But I think if I, you know, repurpose them and then use them for the closure of the book sleeve, that would be nice. The other thing I am adding as well is a pocket on the front of the book sleeve. I thought that would be a good idea. So again, that's what I'm doing to kind of prepare for 2025. I want to, like I say, test out this design. Sorry, I know that's loud. I'm closing this container back. But test out the design and just see how I like it. And yeah, go from there for 2025. Let me show you real quick the fabric that is my designs that I had printed through Spoonflower that I recently purchased and received. So I'm very excited about the fabric that and I'll just share a couple with you. I'll share more in the new year in 2025. We'll save a lot of this for 2025, but I'll share a couple with you. So this is designs that I created, my own personal designs. And if you can see, yeah, this is more true to color. See the words it says on there: faith triumphs in trouble. And also, I don't know if you can see, well, faith brings joy. If you can see that, it is Romans 5:1. I don't know that you can necessarily see that all that well, but this is going to be, I want to test the design I want to do before I actually use the my actual designs that I had printed. And so that's one. What's another one I want to show you? This is another beautiful one. If you follow me over on Instagram, you would have seen I did a quick post on this. But see this one? Like this one as well. Listen, hear the good news of the Lord. Romans 10:17. If you can see that. Different designs. I'll show you one other design too. So I ordered what were these? Fat quarters. And it's large enough to do the book sleeves in, you know, this piece. So here's one. I'll show you the darker background because you might be able to see it. This is Nahum 1:7, and it says God is good, and you'll see the lady faces on there. See that? Isn't that nice? So yeah, I want these to be book sleeves, and so this gives me the perfect opportunity by using my scraps to just play around with the design a little bit, which, I mean, quite frankly, I don't think I'm gonna have any issues with it, but I do want to, because I do make, one of the things I do for those who do make book sleeves, maybe you do this, maybe you don't, just an idea. I always create my templates, and this is on cardstock. You can do it on, if you go to the dollar store in your area, they have, I've seen people use the plastic, clear plastic placemats, and they just cut those and let those be their templates. You want your template to be sturdy, and this is just some cardstock that I have here. And the size of my book sleeve is, the size on here is that I cut is 8.5 by 11, and then the fleece I cut is 7.5 by 10.5. And just so I have a template, so I don't have to keep re-guessing or anything. But the one thing that I'm adding is the pocket in the front. And so if this is the final size is 7.5 by 10.5, because you have to take into account if you're going to create your templates, always add in seam allowance. So if you want your final size of whatever it is that you're making, maybe it's a laptop sleeve or holder, something square, pretty simple, a little coin pouch or whatever, and you're just creating it, a template for it that you have, always include seam allowance, because once you start making it and you're sewing it together, you are eating into that sizing. So hopefully that makes sense. But I think I want my pocket to go halfway, so I'll just use half this. I'll just make another template half this size for my pocket on the front. But the other thing is, because I am making book sleeves, I'm only making 2 today because I'm testing these. I am going to use my heat press. This is something I watch a lot of YouTubers, and as I've been watching other business owners that make book sleeves, they all have heat presses. And I've left comments or whatever on their channels or on their pages. Use your heat press. Stop using your iron. And so once I went through making if you all saw my video where I was making my book sleeves, you know that's one thing I kicked myself in the butt for, and that was not having my heat press set up. And so I went ahead and set up my heat press. I'll take you in there with me and I'll show you what I created, because I use my heat press. Again, I sew, I make handbags, all of this. So when I'm making things like, especially handbags, a lot of those pieces, so if you make pouches and different things like that, a lot of those pieces, some of those pieces are relatively small, right? And so what I would do is put all everything that needed to be fused, whatever fusing I'm putting on, especially for handbags. If you use Decaville heavy, Decaville light, those type of fusible interfacings, a heat press is definitely a blessing to have. And so so that's when I was really starting to use it more, when I was making a lot of handbags. And even the handbag that I have, my Bible tote bag, I showed that with you guys. It's huge, it's very intricate, faux leather, all of that. I use my heat press for fusing all of the interfacing, the Decaville, everything that I use for that. And so that is what I am going to do for this. So I probably will change. I might do this video in a couple different on a couple different days, because I'm just kind of prepping. I'm going to go ahead and cut out everything, take you over to the heat press, and then we're going to sew it up, and it's going to be done. Real simple, real simple. But I did want to just kind of open the video so you see what you're looking at as I'm recording. And I'll probably either have music, or if I need to say anything, I'll talk over. But yeah, I am going to go ahead and get my heat press turned on, get it heated up, cut out these 2 book sleeves, the lining as well as the outer for these, and cut the pockets for these as well. And yeah, I need to actually create a template for the pocket, and so I'm going to do that real quick and then cut everything out. But I'll just take you along with me, and then you'll see what it looks like in the end. for reference, I just have my heat press set to 320 degrees at 7 seconds that you saw on my chart. Doing a pre-press of my fabric because it is wrinkled, slightly wrinkled. It's not all the way on the press. I only have a 15 by 15, but that's good enough. I overlap them ever so slightly so I can get just an initial good press. I'm just going to leave it down for a couple seconds. It doesn't have to be down very long. I'm just trying to get a good press just to knock the wrinkles out. Go ahead and spritz very lightly the fusible fleece. I'm putting it, lining it up with the sleeve, and I'm flipping it over to the right side now, making sure everything is nice and covered. And for 7 seconds, and everything is nice and fused, and I am going to go ahead, finish off this book sleeve, and we'll meet you over at the sewing machine. Okay, a little later in the day, but if you already saw my video, what was that, a week or two ago? I showed a little bit of a haul from other small businesses. So I finished one of the mug rugs. This is the one from Blush Design Co. Definitely not perfect. This is the pink snowflake, but I have my coffee. If you can read that, it says, "Give me Jesus and a sewing machine." So I am about to get to sewing these two book sleeves. So one of the first thing I want to mention is I make sure, for those who are, you know, newer to sewing or something like that, make sure you always use the correct needle for your project. And so one of the tools that I highly recommend, I'll leave a link to this down in the description box. It will be an Amazon link. But this is a needle pad. The needle pad allows you, as you can tell, it has the different needles, names, numbers, and everything on there. And it comes with this quilt pen, pretty much, and you stick it in to the place where the needle that's in your machine. So currently, because again, as you all know, I keep saying I make my own clothes. I had made something that was knit, so I had a knit needle in my machine. I'm switching it out to my universal needle now, back into my machine. I am sewing on my Genome HD 3000, and this is the machine going forward because I got the Genome HD 3000 for bag making, and it has this is the machine I would sew up all my bags on. And so that has been why I got this machine. But I also have, behind you is my Bernina. I'm looking for my clippers. And my nippers here. Was looking for my nippers. But I have the Bernina. And so I'm going to switch to just doing all production sewing on my Genome. And then continue to do my regular garment sewing. And when I do handbags, I'll continue to do them, my wallets and things I'll continue to do on this. But production sewing for the business, I'll switch to my Genome, only because I feel like this is my production machine. That's why I got in the first place, for heavier sewing, even though obviously you can sew on any type of domestic machine, your book sleeves. But I do have two other machines, which I shared in a different video. So yeah, highly recommend. Make sure you switch out your needle. So I am going to go ahead and get started to sewing. Okay, so I just measured the elastic that I want to use to go around the button. And so I cut them, I just have a ruler here. I cut them at, this is about 4.5 inches. And so again, I'm taking into account, I have to put part of this within the seam allowance, but the rest should stretch. I put about, I want to do maybe about 1/2 inch on the seam allowance of this. I'm sewing up my sleeve at 3/8 inch, but I want this to be a little deeper in there to make sure that it's in there, you know, it's sturdy. I'll sew over the area where the elastic is going a couple times just to secure the stitch. But yeah, that is what I am going to do now. And yeah, let's get this finished. So I am definitely making sure that I put the elastic on the opposite side that the pocket is on, because the button is going on the pocket side. Hopefully that makes sense. And because I sew regularly, I can guesstimate about the 1/2 inch that I want that elastic can come out of without measuring it. I'm taking my arm off so I can just slide the sleeve on the inside here of the entire arm. And make sure you have your pointer so you can poke out your corners really nicely. And this is denim that I did this in. So just make sure you don't come through the seam. Okay, so truth moment. I actually did this one backwards. I felt on the wrong side and put the loop here, so the button is going to go on the back for this one. That's okay. I thought I had felt it right, but apparently I did not. This is what happens. You just do samples, make mental notes, like don't forget. So I am going to actually give this a good press. I want to give this a really good press. Press this down before I stitch around the top. And then I'm going to add the button. For this particular one, it's just a sample. The button will go on the back. I don't want to go back in and unpick, and because I'm just sampling how this will go. And so I could use, so most machines come with the buttonhole maker. Some machines come with a buttonhole stitch foot where you put the button up under the buttonhole foot and you can have the machine stitch it down for you. I am just going to hand sew my button on. I don't mind that. I'll just sit and watch some TV and do that. And so yeah, that is the pocket in the front. We're gonna have, even though the button is on backwards, or the elastic is on backwards, that is okay. That is perfectly okay. I did go back in and put it right side around, just because I want to know how it will actually look. So pretty. Okay, good press. All the corners are poked out. Do a little bit more poking on this one. Is a little curved, so I'm gonna have to get in there with my pointer, point that out, and stitch around the top, add my buttons, and I will come back in with my final thoughts. Like I said, there are a couple things I will adjust, and then I'll show you the other goodies that I made that will go with this for them as gifts. All right, we'll catch up in the next clip. Okay, it is the next day, and I have hand sewn the buttons on, and want to give you just a couple things that I will change about the pattern, and it's really just the pocket piece. For those who are interested, I've done a previous video on how to do a pillow, and it was about using your scraps. So if you are a person that sews a lot, be it garment, quilting, anything that you sew, and you're piling up your scraps, I show in that video how to utilize those scraps as pillow inserts and how to create a basic pillow. And so I made quite a few. I'll pop up a picture here of, I made quite a few for the ladies at my Bible study group, our life group, and so that was wonderful. It was so beautiful to see their surprise on their faces and stuff like that. But anyway, so if you do have a lot of scraps and different things and you're not quite sure what to do, if you're not into sewing pieces together, you know how you can scrap sew, scrap quilt. If you're not into that, there is another option that I share with you about using up those scraps to do pillow inserts. And so yeah, check that video out. But let me show you what the final looks like and what I will be doing, and I'm gonna share with you what I made for them as gifts. So this is for one friend. So this is just the denim. Now with my samples, I don't put my labels on there, my business labels on there, and it really would depend on what it is I made. Now if it's something that I made that I can sell, that turned out really good that I can sell, I will, you know, put my label on that. But for stuff I know I'm gonna give away to friends, most of the time I don't put labels on, but when you watch that pillow video, I did put my business labels on those. But anyway, so here's the pocket, and so that's, you know, I turned over twice, and that makes a difference. For one, if you are putting a pocket on, you don't want raw edges, so always quarter turn over. And then the length of the button was fine. It reached over just fine. I even put my book in here, and actually let me grab my book and show you. So here it is. Here's my book, Wives Still Pray. So I'm gonna slide that in there. Goes in there beautifully, closes up. I really like this elastic. I do like that elastic closure. And I also have another book. I'm just gonna, and it's Priscilla Schreier's book, I Surrender All, her book. It fits in here right along with my book. See that? So one larger book, one smaller book, both in here, and yeah, the pocket. And so I love how it turned out. Here's the other one for my friend. And so what I created for them also, because you all know I bust back out my brother scanning cut, and I created these ornaments for them. And so I made these ornaments, and one has the wreath, and then this one, I'll show it on the darker background so you can see. And one has the Christmas tree with their name, and then it says, I don't know if you can tell because the reflection, but it says Merry Christmas on there. And so yeah, so I did that, so I'm happy with that. So they'll get how I plan to package this is, actually this is hers. I'm going to package it like this, and I'm also getting them, I probably put it inside the pocket actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, based on the other stuff I'm getting, I'm like gonna get some candy, some hand lotion, some other goodies, so when we exchange gifts, so they'll have a couple handmade items from me. So I'm very happy with how this turned out. Now the thing that I would change, so one of the things, just so you all know, I used the fusible fleece on the exterior. I didn't for the interior. When I'm making samples, I might not do all of the steps or everything, apply everything that I normally would in a final product. And so so yeah, I just applied it to the outside. Now the other thing I would like to do with that design, and let me just show you too, is I do want to do some quilted. And so and I showed the fabrics earlier in the video, I want to do some of those quilted, and then some might be just like this where it just has the fusible fleece in it, and that's it. But I love the idea of the, you have to let me know about the sustainability portion that I want to infuse in the products that I make. Samples and things being made up in excess fabric, and I have a ton of it, right, because I make my own clothes and whatnot. But and then the buttons, I love the idea of just the random buttons that I can add onto the final product. Now the one thing that I will change, and I wrote a note here for the pattern, is the pattern, this pocket to me is not long enough. So one of the things I consider, because it was supposed to sit much higher, so it's supposed to sit this high, right? And I don't know, you can't tell, but that's like I would say with seam allowance, a 4-inch difference. And that's the one thing I didn't take into account, because I fold over the top twice. I already accounted for it in the side seams, but not when I fold this part over, because I don't like a raw edge showing. And I, you know, turning it down that much took about, I would say about a 1/2 inch off. But then once I put it, you know, sewed it on there, I was like, even if I did account for that, it's still not as high or deep as I want it to be. So I'm going to add 4 more inches onto the pocket, so it sits, so it's a deeper pocket. I want it to be a deeper pocket, so it's not even 4 inches, it's like 2.5 that I want to add on to that. So I made a note for that, to add 2.5 inches on the length. The other thing is I used a different seam allowance. I think I used 3/8, and so that means it's not as, the finish will not be as wide, because I think initially my measurements for the final was 7.5 by, let me see, it's really 7. My final is 7. When I measure it, is 7 and 10, 7 by 10, and I think mine was 10.5 or something, 7.5 by 10.5. So it's an extra, because I did 3/8 inch seam allowance, which I like to sew with 3/8 inch seam allowance, that brought it down to this 7 by 10, so which is fine. So I made a note on that. So yeah, that's basically it. That is it. These gifts are ready for the ladies. I just need to pick up their other goodies, package everything together, and give that to them when we meet for dinner this weekend. Outside of that, and so far as the labels, because I was going back and forth on what type of label I wanted to use, because I have the sew on labels. I'm sure you've seen that in other videos, but I think I want to do for book sleeves for sure the fusible labels, as opposed to the iron-on labels, as opposed to sewing them on. Just because it's a small space, I don't feel like sewing on, and I just like the idea of putting having the iron-on label on the outside. So that is one of the things I jotted down a couple notes. But yeah, that is it. That is it. I absolutely love how it turns out, and I'm super excited because I'm going to wrap it up with this. Arrived in the mail today when I went out walking and went by my mailbox. If you all recall, I was waiting on the rest of my fabric from Joann's that I ordered online to come in, because it came into 2 different packs. One delivery was only 2 yards, but the rest of what I needed is arrived. I got out of the mailbox this morning. So these, if you recall, and I'll share more about this again in 2025, but I had told you that the Fabric Boutique is a sponsor for a women's Christian event that's in February. This is for February, and so I'm so happy the rest of the fabric came, because that is one of the things I'll do, you know, as the year wraps up on some slower evenings. I'm just gonna cut out all of the book sleeves, and I'm not doing, for this, I'm not doing the button, but I am going to do the pocket. So it'll be open, but I won't do, because I'm making 50 of these, 50 book sleeves. So I'm not doing the button, but I will do the pocket. on the front. So the rest of the fabric came, so I'm very happy about that. I can get started on that project. But yeah, that is it, everybody. Have a blessed Christmas. I know I've been recording this over a couple days, but so you'll get this on Christmas Day. For those who tune in after Christmas, I pray that you had a very blessed Christmas. And yeah, it's the next video you'll see is the start of 2025. And yeah, I'm very excited about the things that I'll be sharing. I actually just agreed to a huge event in March of 2025 that I'll be an exhibitor at. And so anyway, we'll talk about all of that in 2025. But I thank you all for those who have subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. I am on the road to hit 1,000 subscribers, and yes, I am very excited about that. So help me get there. If you are watching and have not subscribed, consider subscribing, and don't forget to thumbs up this video. And we will see you in the new year, everybody. All right, bye.